Greetings, Scribblers. Kent Sean here, and today I want to share with you a piece of writing awesomeness so fundamental, so crucial, that you have zero chance of writing an engaging story without it. I give you the 5 Commandments of Story!
Dad, you are so dramatic.
Scribblers, this topic is so big, there is no way I'm going to get to all of it in one video. So prepare yourself for an epic 7-part series. We'll explain what the 5 Commandments of Story are, why they're important, break down each commandment, and add a bonus video on turning points and value shifts. But before we get into it, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the notification bell so you don't miss one peppercorn in our spicy writing grinder. Discovering the 5 Commandments of Story is one of the best things that ever happened to me as a writer. Think of the commandments as a recipe for crafting every unit of your story. What are the units of story, you ask? Did you ask? I'm gonna tell you anyway. The smallest unit of story is the beat. Beats come together to make scenes. Compelling scenes come together to make sequences. Sequences make acts, and acts make stories. Every single one of these units must have the 5 Commandments of Story. Most of the time, when you feel like something isn't working in your story, it's because you're missing one of these integral parts. Here to get you hip to the commandments is Bat James.
The 5 Commandments of Story! Inciting incident, progressive complications, crisis, climax, the resolution.
Before I go on, I want to give big props to editor and super story nerd Sean Coyne. I learned about the 5 Commandments from his amazing book, The Story Grid, which I highly recommend to anybody who wants to dig into the structure of editing and storytelling. The 5 Commandments are a lot like the stages of the hero's journey. They've always been a feature of stories. Sean Coyne just gave them a name. A lot of writers follow these rules intuitively, but if we become conscious of them, we can use them as a tool, not only to outline our scenes and stories, but to diagnose story elements that just aren't working. This fact makes the 5 Commandments incredibly valuable, both to plotters and pantsers, and every weird, mutated thing in between. Planter, pansolaters, plottenser. Commandment number 1, thou shalt have an inciting incident. An inciting incident is an event that knocks the protagonist out of balance. Our hero is cruising through life just fine till someone or something comes along and wrecks their plans. There are 2 types of inciting incidents, causal and coincidental. The causal inciting incident is when someone makes an active choice. Raiders come and burn down your village. A husband up in splits on his wife and kids. Or Dr. Evil Batty McBadguy sets up his giant death ray and takes out Walla Walla, Washington.
There is no way that's a real place. Still don't believe you.
The coincidental inciting incident is when chaos drops something random or accidental down on the protagonist's head. A landslide traps a group of hikers. A young man contracts a terminal illness. A giant meteor covered with intergalactic flesh-eating mold spores lands in the middle of Beverly Hills. No more housewives. Every story has a big inciting incident, but also every scene. Inciting incidents also have to foreshadow the ending, but since I'm going to do an entire video on this subject, I'm not going to get into that maze of madness here. Think of inciting incidents as a catalyst for change. Commandment number 2, thou shalt have progressive complications. Once our protagonist has faced an inciting incident that knocks them on their heels, there can be no easy road to setting things straight. Time to come up with some interesting obstacles and opposition to throw in their way.
Then why aren't they just called obstacles or complications?
I'm glad you asked that, Angie.
You all know he writes these questions, right?
Stop! You broke the 4th wall. The key to escalating tension is to make sure the obstacles you put in your hero's way grow progressively throughout your story. If our hero loses an arm in Act 1, nobody's going to care if he loses a toenail in Act 3. This can be a big problem for action and horror writers who have to keep coming up with more inventive scenes and plot points to keep their readers on the edge of their seats. Really, the yardstick of an interesting story is the quality and inventiveness of the obstacles put between the character and their goals. Good writers raise the stakes every step of the way, ratcheting up the tension to the story's climax. There are 2 types of progressive complications, active and revelatory, which I will get into in nauseating detail in my progressive complications video. There is also another sneaky little level embedded within progressive complications. And that's called the turning point. More to come on this sly little monster. But trust me, if you don't learn to deal with him, you'll end up on the discount rack at the bookstore or in the darkest corners of the Amazon algorithm. Commandment number 3, thou shalt have a crisis.
You've been having one for years.
Yeah, the midlife one.
Hey, I'm only 25. Scribblers, the crisis boils down to a question. The progressive complications have gotten so, well, complicated that the hero is forced to make a choice. Every scene has to have a crisis, every act has to have a crisis, and let me tell you, if your global story doesn't have one big, whopping crisis question, the whole house of cards comes tumbling down. Scribblers, it's not good enough to simply give a protagonist a choice. Listen close. If the choices are easy, they're also boring. To put the screws to our characters and make them show who they really are, we only give them a couple of options. The best bad choice, or irreconcilable goods. None of the choices we offer our protagonists should get them everything they want. The best bad choice is essentially picking between the lesser of two evils. While one choice might move our protagonist towards something they want, it will inevitably move them away from something they need. Next, irreconcilable goods. So, what's good for one group of people is not always good for the others. For instance, I would not cry if reality TV vanished off the face of the earth forever, while others would instantly fall into a deep, dark, random housewives of wherever depression from which they may never return. When heroes choose between irreconcilable goods, they often sacrifice what's best for them in return for what's best for the people they care about. Yeah, sometimes it sucks to be a hero.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Commandment number 4, thou shalt have a climax. Potentially I could have worded that better. There shall be a climax. The climax is when the protagonist finally makes the choice posed to them in the crisis. Once given this impossible choice, the hero must decide to risk it all and save the day, or slink off and hide in a box fort and watch the world burn. The climax of a scene, act, or story is where the character of the protagonist is truly revealed. Okay, folks, I don't want to go off on a rant here, but I get a little frustrated when people tell me about the complex character backgrounds they've written. They go on and on about their favorite quirks, their favorite snacks, and how tough and spunky they are. My heroine had a horrible life and it's given her true grit. Or she had 10 brothers so nobody can push her around. But my hero don't take crap off anybody. But when you read the actual story, they have absolutely nothing in it that shows any of that. Characters are not what they feel inside. That's just mush. Who someone is what they do when the chips are down. Please, scribblers, when you design these complex characters with emotional baggage and flaws that you think will really get the reader's attention, make sure they do something to demonstrate it. Otherwise, you ain't done shit.
Hey, you kiss your mom with that mouth? What were you thinking?
Scribblers, if you spend more time writing complex character backgrounds than you do coming up with inventive and innovative climaxes that show who they really are, smack yourself. And last, but certainly not least, the 5th commandment of story, thou shalt have a resolution. This, to quote Sean Coyne, is where our readers metabolize the story. Every story is about something, and the resolution is our chance to drive home the moral of our theme. Don't settle for dashing off. And they lived happily ever after. Dig deep, look back over your story, and tell us what we've learned. Your readers already know what happened in the climax. Now it's time to tell them what it means. Resolving scenes, beats, and acts is way more complicated, and we're going to get deep into it in my resolution video, so stay tuned. So there you have it, a quick overview of the 5 commandments of story. We're going to hit each commandment hard this summer, so stay tuned for a commandment video coming soon. Lots going on here at the Kent Sean YouTube channel. Tomorrow, Saturday, June 6th, 3 p.m. Mountain Time, I will be live with the vivacious Bethany Votaw, the devilish Danny Ranger from Broken Pages, and we will discuss the power of short fiction to energize your writing. Also, we'll recap the Working with an Editor series, where Bethany Votaw and I collaborate on my sci-fi thriller short, Lydia. Go read it before the live stream. It's up on kentshawn.com. Link is in the description. We'll talk about the story, the editorial process, and all things short fiction. Don't miss it. And finally, time is running out to enter the awe-inspiring, cup-destroying, pencil-snapping, pen-draining, head-balding, metaphor-mangling, sentence-spewing, cash-reward-reaping short story competition. Abdo! July 1st is the final entry date. 5K words or less, any genre, cash prizes. Guys, I have over 20 entries that are way over 5,000 words. Please keep it under 5K. Link to a video with all the details is in the description. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the notification bell. You can follow me on Instagram or Twitter, and please come visit my website, kentshawn.com. Till next time, scribblers, butts in seats, fingers on keyboards.
Rubber ducky, you're the one. My bat nuts are really cold right now.